Hello. At the top of page 119. Compatibility, of course, may be so impossibly damaged that a separation may be necessary, but those cases are the unusual ones. The alcoholic, realizing what his wife has endured, and now fully understanding how much he himself did to damage her and his children, nearly always takes up his marriage responsibilities with a willingness to repair what he can and accept what he can't, and vice versa for the wife. Compatibility. I thought I had compatibility here somewhere, but oh my gosh. And it was good too. I went through all that to lose that paper. Oh well, you can look it up yourself. He persistently tries all of AA's 12 steps in his home. So, look, I'm powerless over people, places, things, and situations. I'm powerless over my spouse and how they're going to think, act, and behave. A power greater than myself can restore my relationship to sanity, and I'm going to turn my will and care over to God, my life over to God, my actions and my thoughts and actions over to God. Maybe seek some outside help. Then I'm going to make a list of where I'm wrong in my relationship at home. I'm going to talk about it with someone else without pointing out their defects and only looking at mine. And I'm going to get real clear on my part. And I'm going to ask God to help me to remove those triggers, behavior patterns, thoughts, words, and actions that contribute to the dysfunction of my relationship. When I see where I'm wrong in one relationship, I can apply that across all my relationships, whether they're romantic or not. Okay, willingness to repair what he can and to accept what he can't, right? Or she. He or she persistently tries all of AA's 12 steps in her home, often with fine results. Fine is very good, as in a coin grading. At this point, he firmly but lovingly commences to behave like a partner instead of like a bad boy. And above all, he's finally convinced that reckless romancing is not a way of life for him. Way of life. A code of living, values or morals, standards that you set. AA has many single alcoholics who wish to marry and are in a position to do so. Some marry fellow AAs. How do they come out? I don't know. Two's a couple, three's a few, four is many, and five's a lot. I don't know how many single alcoholics are actually in a position to do so, because that would require a whole lot of work, a whole lot of change, a whole lot of therapy. On the whole, these marriages are very good ones. Their common suffering as drinkers, their common interest in AA and spiritual things, often enhance such unions. It is only where boy meets girl on AA campus and love it first sight. Love follows at first sight. The difficulties may develop. Okay, AA campus is, you're like new in AA. You haven't read the literature, you don't have a sponsor, you're not really working the steps, you haven't completed all 12 steps. You haven't done any self-reflection, any therapy, you haven't worked on yourself, you haven't changed yourself, you're still learning. And when you don't know, you don't know, but when you know, you know. And we learn how to grow up in Alcoholics Anonymous, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. Stop, get away from the door. So you'll know when you're ready. And when you're not ready, you won't know. Or you might think you are. I don't know. Like, to be safe, please stop. To be safe, I would say talk to your sponsor, talk to your therapist, your religious leader, whoever pastor, preacher that is. Talk to 3 people before you choose to decide to go ahead and date and or get into a relationship. Because romances and finances will take you out. And when I say take you out, I mean not just drunk, dead. It's not a game for us. Okay, the prospective partners, the expected partners, need to be solid AAs and long enough acquainted to know that their compatibility at spiritual, mental, and emotional levels is a fact and not wishful thinking. We need to look up compatibility. They need to be as sure as possible that no deep lying emotional handicap in either will be likely to rise up under later pressures to cripple them. What is a deep lying emotional handicap? How come I don't have it? Wow, that's just crazy. All that just disappeared. It's not normal. I don't normally do that. I might have to. You know what? I can Google it real quick. Wait a minute. Nope. It was good too. That's why it's gone. The AI is real good. What are deep lying emotional handicaps? We can do this in a split second. What are deep lying emotional handicaps? AI wants to put lying in there. Deep emotional handicaps can include mood disorders, anxiety disorders, psychotic disorders. These disorders can cause significant distress and impairment in daily life. Bipolar disorder, a mood disorder that involves extreme mood swings between mania and depression. These mood swings can severely impair a person's ability to function. Anxiety disorders, characterized by excessive fear and worry that can lead to significant distress. Anxiety disorders can also cause behavioral disturbances. Psychotic disorders, severe mental disorders that cause distorted thinking, hallucinations, and delusions. People experiencing psychotic episodes may lose touch with reality. I'd say that'd be a significant uh, issue before getting involved with another human being. Depression, a mood disorder that's often characterized by a prolonged feeling of deep sadness. Post-traumatic stress disorder, a condition that can develop after experiencing or witnessing trauma. PTSD can cause children to become distressful and fragile. Okay. These are deep lying emotional handicaps. Some of them, but not all of them. There has to be some type of, there's got to be some type of support in place, coping mechanisms, and I would say a person would need to exhibit over time the ability to work through those in real life, in real time, and you need to see it. Be sure that these issues, which we all have because we're all human, whether we're alcoholic or not, are not going to cripple your relationship in the future, because why get into a relationship that's just going to be destroyed, that's very hurtful, it's very painful, and it's not necessary. The considerations are equally true and important for those AAs who marry outside of AA. So whether it's an alcoholic or not an alcoholic, don't assume that person doesn't have mental disorders just because they're not an alcoholic, okay? With clear understanding and right grown-up attitudes, very happy results do follow. Clear understanding, knowing how it works and what it means. Something that is clear, is obvious, and impossible to be mistaken about. Complete grasp of the essential aspects. Grown-up attitudes are responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions and attitudes and not blaming others when things go wrong. Self-control, being able to calm down and temper your reactions. Self-awareness, trusting your inner truth and seeking to understand where you might be mistaken. Self-improvement. I want to know where that, okay, where do I got that? Okay, self-improvement, focusing on yourself and fixing what's broken, while also celebrating your achievements. Consideration for others, developing greater consideration for others, being honest and not manipulating others. Top of page 120. And what can be said of many A members who, for a variety of reasons, cannot have a family life? At first, many of these feel lonely, hurt, and left out as they witness so much domestic happiness about them. If they cannot have this kind of happiness, can AA offer them satisfactions of similar worth and durability? Durability is something that lasts. Yes, whenever they try hard to seek them out. Surrounded by so many AA friends, these so-called loners tell us they no longer feel alone. In partnership with others, women and men, they can devote themselves to any number of ideas, people, and constructive projects. Free of marital responsibilities, they can participate in enterprises which would be denied to family men and women and receive great joys in return. You can contribute to a charitable cause. You can construct different ways that you can help in the recovery community. You can make a bigger difference when you're single than you can when you're married, for the most part, I would say. And, I reserve the right to be wrong. There's going to be people who do actually do better being married than single. And then there's going to be other people, obviously me, who do better single. I got my issues. Where the possession of money and material things was concerned, our outlook underwent the same revolutionary change. Dramatic change. With a few exceptions, all of us had been spendthrifts. Spendthrift spends money wastefully. We threw money about in every direction with the purpose of pleasing ourselves and impressing other people. I'd say it would be a big ego boost in lieu of healthy self esteem. If we don't have healthy self esteem, we're going to want to boost our ego. Yeah. In our drinking time, we acted as if the money supply was inexhaustible, unlimited. Though between binges, we'd sometimes go to the other extreme and become almost miserly, greedy, and cheap. Without realizing it, we were just accumulating funds for the next spree. Money was the symbol of pleasure and self importance. When our drinking had become much worse, money was only an urgent requirement which could supply us with the next drink and temporary comfort of oblivion it brought. Boy, I can relate. Another thing I'd done was I would clean the house, pay my bills, get everything that I needed stocked up on. And when I got all my ducks lined up in a row, I would work really hard to get that done. And then when it was done, I could reward myself by going out and just blowing everything and just trashing it all again. So glad I don't have to do that. That's exhausting. All right. Upon entering AA, these attitudes were sharply reversed, often going much too far in the opposite direction. The spectacle of years of waste threw us into a panic. There simply wouldn't be time, we thought, to rebuild our shattered fortunes. How could we ever take care of those awful debts, possess a decent home, educate the kids, and set something by for old age? I'd say we can only do the best that we can do. Just like do a little bit at a time and not try to think too much about how it's all going to get done. Because we get overwhelmed, or we'll get overwhelmed real quick. Financial importance was no longer our principal aim. We now clamored for material security. Kind of clamored, I have yelled. Even when we were well established in our business, these terrible fears often continued to haunt us. For me, I can say it's a shocking to wake up and look around you and see that everything that you have is destroyed and you have nothing left and you have to rebuild your entire life from scratch. And then you don't have any help from any so-called family or friends because all of those people really didn't. I mean, most of them probably lost respect for me because I know I did for myself. And we have unworkable relations with people. This made us misers and penny pinchers all over again. This says a job is an opportunity for service. A right dependence on God is more important than money. Well, yeah. Look, what does it gain a man? What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? Who cares how much money you have if you can't stop drinking yourself to death? Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters. Either he'll hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You can't serve both God and money. So we get our priorities right, and we have to put our spirituality first for this program to work. Okay, God was always the last thing. Yeah. It didn't work. Complete financial security we must have, or else. We forget that most alcoholics in AA have an earning power considerably above average. We forgot the immense goodwill of our brother AAs who were only too eager to help us to better jobs when we deserved them. So if you need a job, ask and keep asking, knock and keep knocking. Go ask people in recovery. Call central office, maybe. We forgot the actual or potential financial insecurity of every human being in the world, whether they're alcoholic or not. We all have these problems. Always thought I was exempt because I don't know why. I just really didn't think other people had the same problems that I did. Thought I was the only one. And worst of all, we forgot God. In money matters, we had faith only in ourselves and not too much of that. There's a connection between spiritual and financial. This all meant, of course, that we were still far off balance. When a job looked like a mere means of getting money rather than an opportunity for service, when the acquisition of money for financial independence looked more important than a right dependence upon God, we were still victims of unreasonable fears. Because my purpose and my relationship with God has to come first or it will come last. If it comes last, I'm going to be a drunk. If I'm looking for my purpose in God's will, and I'm trying to figure out how I can serve, the financial should work itself out. How can I serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These were fears which would make a serene and useful existence at any financial level quite impossible. It's not really going to help me to be able to be more financially independent if I'm always stressed and worried all the time. It's going to sap my strength. It's going to take my energy from me. So being stressed ain't going to help. But as time passed, we found that with the help of AA's 12 steps, we could lose those fears no matter what our material prospects were. If you put your recovery first, everything else will follow. We could cheerfully perform humble labor without worrying about tomorrow. You know, we're sober today. I'm sober today only by the grace of God. And if I'm not sober, nothing else really matters. So that's how it works for me. If our circumstances happen to be good, we no longer dreaded a change for the worse. For we had learned that these troubles could be turned into great values. So we learn the lessons that we need to learn the first time around. Once you experience so much pain, and now I'm sober, now I can see. And I can use all my lessons to benefit another human being. Now the things that happen still fulfill my purpose. It did not matter too much what our material condition was, but it did matter what our spiritual condition was. Spiritual condition. It keeps saying that, but I made something. I wrote something about something down, and then it's just gone, and I can't find it. Spiritual condition. How prepared someone is to deal with daily stressors, emotions, and trauma is what I got for spiritual condition. It's going to be probably a lot more than that. Money gradually became our servant and not our master. We're going to have to get rid of all these people, places, and things that are trying to dominate, control us, and take the place of God in our lives. I can't put my husband as God. I can't put, or my spouse. I can't put my family as God. I can't put my sponsor as God. I can't put money as God. I can't put food as God. I can't put alcohol as God. We gotta pull the rug out from underneath these things, take their power away. They don't belong in that spot. No one belongs on a pedestal. And they will try to put themselves there in your life, and as an attempt to control you and dominate you. It became a means of exchanging love and service with those about us. So now when I do something to earn my abundance, I get my abundance, I can now give back. I can go to work knowing that when I'm helping myself get to a place where I can help other people. When with God's help we calmly accepted our lot, because it could always be worse, then we found we could live at peace with ourselves and show others who still suffered the same fears that they could get over them too. The only way I've ever been able to get over a fear is to face it. A fear will keep me in prison. I'm telling you what. Okay. We found that freedom from fear was more important than freedom from want. So it's more important to, that's pretty self-evident. Lack of having and desire to have. Want is a freedom from want is a freedom from lack. Okay? So I may not have everything that I want, but I have everything that I need. The difference between need and want is the difference between what I need to survive: food, water, shelter, simple stuff. And want is everything else. I want to get my hair done. I want a better car. I might even want more food. Okay? But I have everything I need. Let's here take note of our improved outlook upon the problems of personal importance, power, ambition, and leadership. Holy moly. Okay, personal importance. An exaggerated sense of one's own value or an inflated feeling of pride in one's superiority over others. That's Jesus. Power, the ability to do something or act in a particular way, the ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events. Physical strength, physics, math. Ambition, a strong desire to do or to achieve something. Leadership, guidance, direction, authority, control, management, government, influence. These were reefs upon which many of us came to shipwreck during our drinking careers. These reefs are something you crash in, that reefs in an ocean that you crash into. So these are things we got to watch out for. Okay. Here, there was our downfall. That's our downfall. Making myself too important, trying to be too powerful, too ambitious, too much. Okay. Practically, this is written way back in the day. Practically every boy in the United States dreams of becoming our president. Not anymore. He wants to be his country's number one man. As he gets older and sees the impossibility of this, he can smile good naturedly at his childhood dream. In later life, he finds that real happiness is not to be found in just trying to be a number one man or even a first rater in the heartbreaking struggle for money, romance, or self importance. Woo! So, money, love, and being an important person is not going to be fulfilling. Real happiness is going to be he learns that he can be content as long as he plays well, whatever cards life deals him. He's still ambitious, but not absurdly so, because he can now see and accept reality. He's willing to stay right size. Right size is the difference between the id and the superego. Right size. I know I seen this. That's 123. I just seen it a minute ago. Right size. Getting down to our right size is a phrase commonly used in the context of AA to signify humility, meaning to have a realistic and balanced view of oneself, acknowledging both strengths and weaknesses without inflating one's ego or self importance. Essentially, seeing oneself as neither better nor worse than others. Accurately assessing one's capabilities and limitations, avoiding excessive self aggrandizement or self deprecation. We're not putting ourselves up here. While it might sound like diminishing oneself, it's about achieving a balanced perspective, not self belittlement. The opposite is arrogance. So, the opposite of getting down to our right size is arrogance. But getting down to our right size, please don't misunderstand that as humiliating yourself. Please don't. Please, please don't make yourself smaller than you are. Most of us have been beat down enough. But not so with alcoholics. When AA was quite young, a number of eminent psychologists and doctors made an exhaustive study of a good-sized group of so-called problem drinkers. Many famous and respected psychologists and doctors made a complete study of a good-sized group of problem drinkers. The doctors weren't trying to find out how different we were from one another. They sought to find whatever personality traits, if any, this group of alcoholics had in common. Alcoholic personality traits. Hazelden, Betty Ford, let's see, yeah. Alcoholic personality traits. Impulsivity, antisocial, dissociative identity disorder, Is not caused by substance use. Okay. It develops following a traumatic event. Okay. Does not cause personality disorder, but can influence its progression by exasperating its symptoms and effects. Other alcoholic personality traits are low self esteem, anxiety, blaming others, guilt, frustration. Excessive pride is a way to mask deep seated fears, a protective mechanism to avoid feeling vulnerable or inferior. What is this? I have false pride here. That's way down there. Okay. They finally came up with a conclusion that shocked the AA members of that time. These distinguished men had the nerve to say that most of the alcoholics under investigation were still childish, emotionally sensitive, and grandiose. Oh, Lord. Let's see if I have that. I thought I had that. Emotionally sensitive, I had, but it's gone. I can't find it. Okay. This. Okay. We insisted. Okay. How we alcoholics did resent that verdict. We would not believe that our adult dreams were often truly childish. And considering the rough deal life had given us, we felt it perfectly natural that we were sensitive. As to our grandiose behavior, we insisted that we had been possessed of nothing but a high and legitimate ambition to win the battle of life. So, whenever someone says something negative like that to an alcoholic, their intention, a normal person's intention, most of the time, a healthy human being's intention, is to help that other person to see where they could do better. But most alcoholics are really defensive, and you can't really, they see it as an attack. So instead of saying, hey, we are doing this study on alcoholics, and our study revealed that, you know, we have undeveloped emotions here. We're overly sensitive and grandiose. Now we know that alcoholism and addiction are one of the major causes is trauma. So now we see that overly sensitive is a reaction, and just a lot more than we used to know. And so in the defensiveness of the ego, this is what our excuses were, okay? We felt it's only natural we're sensitive, okay? In the years since, however, most of us have come to agree with those doctors. We have had a much keener look at ourselves and those about us. Clearer and sharper look. Keener. We have seen that we were prodded by unreasonable fears or anxieties into making a life business of winning fame, money, and what we thought was leadership. Okay? We were prodded, pushed by unreasonable fears, and made the whole end and aim of our lives became winning, being important, having money. So, false leadership. I have that. False leadership. There is genuine leadership, but this is talking about our false leadership. Okay? And we need to know the difference between genuine leadership and false leadership, right? If I only look at the positive, I'm not looking at the negative. I don't know if I'm not going to get this done in time. Boy, chapter 12 is long. False leadership refers to a situation where someone presents themselves as a leader but lacks the genuine qualities and integrity required to effectively lead, often prioritizing personal gain over the well being of their team and using manipulative tactics to maintain their position. Essentially, they are faking leadership by creating a facade of authority without the substance to back it up. Deception and manipulation, using dishonest tactics to gain influence and control. Self-centered focus, prioritizing personal gain over the team's success. Lack of accountability, avoiding responsibility for mistakes and blaming others. Excessive self-promotion, bragging about accomplishments and taking undue credit. Controlling behavior, micromanaging and suppressing independent thought. They don't want you to think for yourself. Intimidation tactics, using fear or threats to maintain power, spoken or unspoken. Making unrealistic promises or claims they cannot fulfill, real or implied. That is not leadership. That's not real, genuine leadership. That's control tactics. Okay, so false pride became the reverse side of that ruinous coin marked fear. False pride. We simply had to be the number one people to cover up our deep lying inferiorities. And I made an insert for that, but it doesn't look like I have it. Wow. Made a whole bunch of stuff just it's gone. Ah, here it is. Deep lying inferiorities refers to a subconscious, ingrained feeling of inadequacy or inferiority that a person may have about themselves, often stemming from past experiences or perceived shortcomings, which can manifest in various behaviors and can significantly impact their self esteem and confidence. Essentially, it's a deep seated belief that one is less than others, even if not always consciously recognized, not always obvious, can be based on real or magnified flaws, can lead to various behaviors such as bragging, being overly critical, withdrawing socially, or seeking constant validation. Unconscious means, or subconscious means we can't see it ourselves. Probably everybody else sees stuff about me I don't see because I see stuff about other people they don't see. It's often rooted in childhood experiences. Early life experiences like criticism, comparison to siblings, or feeling undervalued can contribute to the development of these deep lying inferiority complexes. Okay? So everybody's got some, probably. In fitful successes, we boasted of greater feats to be done. In defeat, we were bitter. Okay, so it was never good enough, right? In sporadic success, we just said we're going to do better. And then when we didn't do well, we became angry. If we didn't have much of any worldly success, we became depressed and cowed. So if we hadn't achieved a lot of worldly success, which would be material, financial, maybe social recognition, we were depressed and intimidated and backed down. These people said we were of the inferior type. So then people said we were of the inferior type, maybe genetically uh, not as good as, maybe, you know, we're less than, okay? But now we see ourselves as chips off the same old block. Chips off the same old block, okay? Got that now. Eek. Chips off the same old block. Someone very similar in character to their parent, essentially saying they are like a smaller version of their parent, just like how a chip is a small piece broken off a larger block. Family resemblance, like father, like son. So we're all the same, whether alcoholic or not. We all have these issues. At heart, we had all been abnormally fearful. Well, at least all alcoholics have the same things. It mattered little whether we had sat on the shore of life drinking ourselves into forgetfulness or had plunged in recklessly and willfully beyond our depth and ability. Abnormally fearful. Abnormally fearful. Symptoms of an unhealthy mental state, such as anxiety disorder or phobias, anxiety disorders, episodic or paroxysmal anxiety. Signs of abnormal fear are avoiding social situations, travel, or other activities, spending too much time worrying, giving up activities that are important to quality of life, having difficulty leaving home, experiencing physical symptoms like headaches, trembling, and muscle tension. A state of fear or anxiety that is not situationally appropriate and not ordinary, useful responses, lasting too long or constant. You know, I say if I wasn't abnormally fearful in the beginning of my drinking, it didn't really matter if we sat on the shore of life drinking ourselves into forgetfulness or had plunged in recklessly and willfully beyond our depth. I think the alcohol triggers the fight or flight response because it's a toxin and it puts your body into a state of survival mode. So now you're going to be abnormally fearful, whether you are or not. Okay, the result was the same. All of us had nearly perished in a sea of alcohol. I'm going to have to stop there. And we will start on the top of page 124.